Hello everybody, I'm Ralph Bristol and I have the pleasure of talking with Bill Carden, who's a lifelong resident of Coffee County, Tennessee. You are 78 years old and you've lived all of those years on a farm that's been in your family for...
1839.
Wow. You're the, how many generations that is?
My great-grandfather and then my grandmother. It came from my grandmother's side.
Okay.
And then after she passed, my grandfather, and then my father. And then actually my two older brothers inherited a little bit of it, and then Cantrell acquired that.
Yeah.
And the house place here, I lived over on part of it, the other part for a while, but I bought this.
So the farm's going to stay in the family?
Yes.
When you're gone too?
Yes.
Still going to stay in the family. Now, your siblings all decided that they would go off and make their fortunes elsewhere, but you wanted to stay on the farm. Why?
Well, I had done it from the time I was a little kid. I milked cows when I was but 6 or 7 years old before school. And I was always here. I had one younger brother, and he was pretty much into athletics, so he wasn't never around at chore time. My older brothers were 8, 9, 10, 11 years older than me, so they were almost gone and out by the time I knew what was going on. I guess that's what I wanted to do. I don't know if there was a real reason or not. Just.
Are you glad you did?
Yes, I did. I wouldn't change it for anything. I feel like there's not a better place in the world to have grown and lived and to raise a family than right here.
The grounding that I feel, and I want my children to feel that, I believe has been accomplished, that we're very fortunate to be blessed with this land, and our father that didn't think, oh, let's sell it. And right now in this holler, this big holler that we live in, we're seeing it. All the families, the land is selling, and it's heartbreaking.
What kind of farm do you have?
For a long time, we did hogs and cattle, grew our hay and corn. After I got to trying to make a living at it, I drove a school bus for a little extra income from a very early age, beginning, and farmed with Dad, and then I did whatever else could do. And I got to work in a little construction. I worked for my younger brother several years as part-time troubleshooter for his business, and then I had a crew or two of my own for a while, roofing crews, and so I've done a little bit of all of it, but the farm was always first on the list, and that was up to through 2018, and then my health made me quit.
One of your daughters told me that something everyone in the family really appreciates about you is that you taught and role modeled a very strong work ethic, the value of work. That you talk the talk and you walk the walk. Is that a core principle for you in your life?
Yeah, the kids were all, they griped a little bit along when we worked when they didn't really want to. But after hours, they laughed and talked about it and how much fun they had. And the daughters and stepdaughters were the hay crew. Cantrell was the tractor operator, equipment operators, because he was the only one that knew anything much about repairing or keeping it going and that sort of thing. And the girls were a pretty good hay crew. They hauled 500-600 square bales of hay a day whenever we was haying. And that night they'd laugh about it. We farmed the old airport in Tullahoma for a few years. And we had one of those real bad hot years. It had 400-something acres of soybeans and had a lot of rock in it, and we tried to clean that up. They'd work from daylight to dark, and I thought they were come in, couldn't move. But I found out they found those big pipes under the airport over there that stood with water, and they was taking turns of playing in the water while the others were working, and they'd come home just as spry as they could be after 10 or 12 hours. They was pulling a fast one over there. But that's what made it what it is. And David Catch worked with me, Bill Bob worked with me, at whatever we were doing.
He's talked about the different things that he did off the farm to make money. He didn't mention, but he was a big commercial hay hauler back in the late 60s, early 70s, and I was driving a hay truck at 6 years old in the hayfield, and so I've had a steering wheel in my hand. I'm 58, 52 years of my life, I've had a steering wheel in my hand. I mean, and then as soon as I was remotely old enough, I was driving a tractor.
I was the oldest daughter, and I was bigger than my older brother. So from the get-go, he was smart enough to put me in the place that he should have been doing the work, but I was physically big enough to do the work. Daddy always made us work because of, in my opinion, necessity, and not really, oh, this is going to be good for them. It was just what we had to do to survive.
How did him teaching and role modeling the value of work impact you and your life?
I have always tended to be a leader, whatever the circumstance that I happen to be in at work. Even as a teenager, I was crew leader. I went into restaurant management before I finished college. And so even at school, I'm a school counselor now, but I started out as a classroom teacher. I was team leader as classroom teacher because my work ethic tended to make me rise above other people who maybe didn't have such a strong work ethic. And I thought everybody had a strong work ethic, as a teenager. I just thought that's the way everybody worked. And you soon find out when you get out in the real world that that is not the case.
I think they enjoy what we have available here. They see the good times that they have.
He has worked as hard as anybody I've ever known, but like he said, he took time to carry us camping, to go to the creek and play with us, to catch crawdaddies, go catch a mess of black perch, pick up every terrapin or snake that's in the road and help them on across, or bring them home and let us play with them, or taught us all about the woods and the farm. And I'd say he may not have ever been the world's greatest farmer, but a steward of the land, and I would definitely say he's been that.
My parents taught and role modeled for me that the only thing that you get out of life is what you put into it, the work that you put into it. That became my work ethic, which has served me well because a willingness to work is necessary in order to overcome a lot of mistakes, which I'm prone to make.
About work ethics, school bus probably helped me as much as anything because there was no laying out. We didn't have hardly any substitute driver ever. And that came on 9 months a year, no matter what, every day, every single day, and I didn't miss. I had a perfect attendance for driving the bus a year, 2 or 3 there, but that's pretty.
There are some people who are offended if you say, if you work hard, everything's going to be okay, because everything's not okay for them, and they consider that an insult, that it's an accusation that they don't work hard. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think you need to work hard, but I think you also need to play hard when you want to. You don't work every day, even though you work all your life, you still don't work every single day. You can tell on the wall that I've been a deer hunter. I probably put more loafing time, fun time into that than any other one thing.
That's another thing your daughter told me about you. She said that you are an avid hunter, but she also wrote, and I'll quote her, "He has a way with animals, always rescuing the baby that we ran across on the farm, in the field, or in the tree that was cut down while logging. I cannot tell you how many of those animals we nursed back to life and set free. Are both of those true? Are you an avid hunter with a soft spot for injured animals?
Yes. Hunting, it's a smart thing. It's not being mean to the animals. Our wildlife resources has been good in setting up what need to be harvested. Right. And if you go by that, then we have a healthy herd or flock or whatever the wildlife is. And they've done that, and that makes, I don't want to cripple one up. If I'm going to shoot him, I want to get him. I want to put him out. And animals here, whether it's farm animals or what, we do what we have to, try to do our best to take care of them.
Do you hunt for sport or for meat or both?
I hunt for sport. I never waste one. I'll make sure somebody has it. I do not care for the meat myself. I just don't. But I've never let one waste. I used to. When my health was good, I would butcher it myself, and had 2 or 3 people that wanted maybe a part of one, and I'd spread it around. But that's the type of thing that we did. We don't waste them.
It's consistent that someone has a strong work ethic and also doesn't like to waste. Where did you get those values from?
My mother and father were, they were good at taking care of stuff. We canned our foods in the summer. We grew vegetables, we grew our meats, we killed our own hogs. Occasionally we killed our beef. That wasn't in my early days, there wasn't any way of keeping the beef except you had to can anything that you kept in the way of beef. And we did a little bit of that, not much. But we killed our hogs and our chickens. On Sunday morning, most time we'd have fried squirrel for breakfast. Yeah, that was one of the main Sunday morning breakfasts.
Would you say that valuing work and abhorring waste is driven more by the morality we learn or by our natural instinct to survive?
I've never really been in a position to where I had to be stingy or whatever you want to call it to survive, but that might have been a big factor too that just never did really come up. We didn't ever have a lot of money, but we always had plenty to wear and plenty to eat. That's the way it was. I guess in a sense, sometimes you look around and you say, well, here I'm here having to work today, and they're over there riding a big fancy boat around something. But honestly, no, it never was an important thought in my mind. I know it runs through everybody's mind. It did mine too, and it still does once in a while. But you can tell where we all are around here that we enjoy, because I don't know. I think we all could have made more money if we'd wanted to win a different route, but the kids and I are doing what we want to. They're all back here on the farm, and I love it. Couldn't be better.
The 3 of you plan to keep this farm in the family intact after he's gone.
1,000%.
Absolutely, that's correct.
No question about that.
Right.
I suppose my role is a little different there. Me and my family live up on the ridge, I'll say, instead of down here in the holler. So it's just a little bit different. And there's another a farm, a smaller part of a farm that's not quite connected, but it is just a couple of miles from here. So even though it may not be part of the original farm, it's still the same. We have the same values and the same sense of being in the country on the farm.
You said you give away most, if not all, of the meat that you hunt and kill. Do you consider yourself a charitable man?
I've always been, I've grown a lot of vegetables. And I've never sold any. Give them away. All the excess, I give them away. Like that picture over there on the table with all of the grandkids and their turnips. There's a lot of people that like them and want them, and I'd take them to the school bus garage. I'd pick up a load at a time. And we had assistant living in Manchester that when we were able to grow the vegetables, we'd take every excess vegetable we had, and the older people that lived there, they just loved it. And Shirley carried a pickup load of watermelons to Kingwood Arms one time, which is the assisted living. A little pickup load, not a big truck, but probably 40 or 50 watermelons. And those older ladies that could barely walk most of the time found out there was a load of watermelons down there. All they had to do was come get them. And they go out there with a watermelon under each arm. She gave the whole load away there in just a little while. And now,
Now, did people take advantage of this generosity ever?
Got one good tale about that. Well, one year I had this gobs of noodles of watermelon. So I had this friend, I told him, I said, go ahead and get all the watermelons you want. I said, we got plenty. Well, he took me literally and he went over and got a pickup load. Well, I found out later they'd carry them over and put them in his front yard, or he'd have a yard sale with watermelon. And I guess that was worthwhile because I thought that was hilarious. Yeah, he was a fellow that didn't need nothing. And
that's your calico cat right
this is my baby here.
What's going on?
She's old age and she has cancer, and she's not going to be with us but a few days.
Yeah. You're not in the best health yourself, are you, right now?
No.
Yeah.
My lungs are real bad. I don't have any.
Think about that much? About
Well,
the last most inevitable part of all of our lives?
I've had enough good living and enough everything good to last 3 people a lifetime. So I don't worry about it. Every day I get them, it's just one more good day. Not a whole lot of people get to be with their parents their whole life, and them live to be old.
Yeah.
See, they were right here, and I lived next door over there on the other part of the farm. And the mother lived to be 80 and Dad to 82. Dad died in the barn down there. He fell out of the barn and broke his neck. But most folks, when they become adults, they're not with their parents every day. And we would check with each other one way or the other almost every day. And it was a good feeling.
And your children all live right around you and have all their lives, right?
Yes. Bill Bob's, he traveled a little bit here, there, and yonder, but he finally got back home.
Now, there's some differences between us. I'm 15 years younger than Cantrell, and 13 years younger than Roseanne. I'm the baby. We were growing up doing different things at different times, but and I was probably, like a lot of the youngest, I was probably a little bit spoiled and a little more rowdy than some of the other ones, and probably required a little more discipline or...
Any disagreement here?
No, he's probably straight up.
Now, we all have weaknesses that we don't necessarily like to dwell on, but I perceive that you're a humble man too, maybe willing to admit your weaknesses if you have any. I'm told that one of your weaknesses might be in the area of personal relationships.
Well, it's true, because I've been married twice, divorced twice. Shirley and I, we've been together now 20 years. We're not married. And 2, I might have been tied to this farm more than I should have been. I love this farm, and I love the past. And I guess I put some requirements into the farm that somebody else that didn't grow up here would not understand maybe, and I think that was partly it. I've always put a pretty high priority in my work, and survival, like I said, the farm didn't make, honestly, the farm made about enough money to keep the farm, pay taxes and insurance and what little had to be done to the farm. We made our living off the farm, but whatever, it was, whether it was bus driving or little construction or working for the neighbor down the road or whatever it will happen to be, whatever it took. And that's what I always did. In the wintertime, I hauled creek rock, and I'd take on any kind of odd job that somebody had that I could do. It didn't matter what it was. I mean, I never did have a problem with staying pretty legal, but other than that, well, there wasn't much limitation to it.
Do you think our generation is leaving the country in good hands, or do you see a lot of problems ahead for future generations?
I see a lot of problems in it. Probably comes from the bad work ethics. It's too much welfare. I don't have a problem with welfare for people who need it, but in my opinion, about 2/3 of the ones that's on our welfare that we're keeping up ought to be working. And that's the way I feel about it.
If we lose the work ethic in this country, are we in trouble?
Yes, we will be. We're already almost up to that because percentages, the way I understand it, is pretty high now on the taxpayers that keep up the people that are not working. And if it gets one-sided, then this country's in trouble. I've transported thousands of kids, and I know that some of them I probably didn't do much with, but I know there were a lot of kids that I'd take time enough to talk to them and try to instill a little of what I thought was good into their minds. And I think it worked on some of them that otherwise would not have done. Well, the bottom line is I love people. And no matter what the caliber or occupation or anything, I can enjoy something out of almost every person I ever met. Now this,
Flawed or not, huh?
once in a while, there's not much there, but there's something in every person. Well, I got a big old limestone rock, I already said it. They're going to put me up here on top of the hill.
Plenty of room to write
They can write whatever they want to on it.
important history of your life.
This is my rotten old dad, or this is a dad that I loved once in a while, or whatever. This is a dad that I conned once in a while.
You want it. We all want to be loved. What do you want people to love about you?
Just whatever I am. Yeah. If I'm too bad, they need to tell me. I mean, us older folks will never get old enough to where you don't need straightening out once in a while.
Oh yeah. Even you, huh?
Yeah.
Still.
She does it all the time.
She does that for you?
You know what? If I get online, she threatens to piece my tube. My grandfather lived with us when I was growing up. Mm-hmm. We loved him to death, and he didn't do much work. He was already into getting on up in years. But he had a hand in kind of keeping all those boys, there's 5 of us, in line around here. Mm-hmm. He didn't say much, but he and doggone young, and Joe gonna have to do better than that this once in a while or something like that. But we all loved grandfather to death. He was a good one. And Dad was gone on construction a lot, so grandfather took his place some, and Mother was here most times. She taught a little school. Mother was my father's teacher one year. She was out of an educated family. Her father was a lawyer. And Dad was, and grandfather was about as country could be. But they were good. They were hard work.
Roseanne and I were talking earlier and things that I remember about Papa. So Russell Carden, Dad's dad, you know, he worked here in his later life, which was the only time I knew him because he died when I was 11. He was here all the time. Most of them were already started into their adult life, so they were gone a lot. But I rode in a little box on the back of a 3-point hitch of an old Ford tractor with him, and we'd be riding around the farm. Of course, we were always on the move to go do something. It wasn't just riding around for no reason, but even in my short 11 years that I had with him, he reiterated to me probably 100 times how, you know, we've all worked hard for this place, need you to do the same, you know, and continue to work it and enjoy it and love it all of your life. Don't ever sell it. If you can buy something that joins it, buy it.
And then there was you, and now there's your children
and grandchildren, and hopefully they'll be handed down again someday. That we hope.
Bill Carden, you're a great American. Thank you so much for giving me this time.
Do I get to hear the real story?
Well, that's what I wondered. Do you want to hear this? Is everybody comfortable doing this in front of him? Or?
He gave us a good baseline on moral standards, and, you know, he taught us to be honest. He taught us to work hard. Taught us to, you know, be responsible for what we were doing, no matter what that was. And like all of us, I'm sure, you know, he would have liked to have been a better example on one thing or another. But the bottom line was if you done wrong, he'd whoop the tar out of you, and if you done right, you got to see what you got out of it. And so his values of morality and integrity and hard work, I'd say, is the best thing that I got from him. You know, I'm raising 6 children now and getting plenty of opportunities to see where he did right or where he did wrong, or if I can do better, or if I can come to the plate as well as he did.
You know, I was thinking about the many memories I had of growing up of firearms. I mean, I remember he and his friends being out there, and somebody go buy a new gun. Well, everybody had to try it out, or they had to compare it to theirs. And so my brother and my dad both love big game hunting. Me, not so much. But now wing shooting, they don't like it near as much. I mean, they like it a lot, but they still don't like it as much as me. I mean, I remember my dad talking about having hogs on the farm. One of the things we would do, we kept small fields of corn, and we call hogging it off. We'd just open up a little spot for the hogs to go in there. Well, that was a great place for dove hunting. And I literally remember it 50 plus years ago, begging my dad to go with him, and he was like, I could still see he's thinking, I just don't know if he's old enough. But he told me, he said, son, every time you hear a gunshot, your butt better hit the ground. And we went, and I was his bird, and that made me, I became the bird dog. And I remember I'd be running after a bird, because not finding a bird was just not an option, you know. That was, just wasn't. I'd be running wide open, I'd hear a shot, didn't know who it was, didn't care, but boy, I was sliding into home plate, rocks and everything. I mean, I was hooked from the very beginning. And then
you were the hunter and the dog both.
I was.
I raised Labrador and hunted Labradors duck hunting when I was, so you would have been the guy that swam out into the cold Nebraska lake to fetch.
Yeah, he would have been.
Yeah.
I think that either one of them will tell you that we all worked good together. We if we were going to kill something, we intended to bring it to the plate.
I have never been hunting a day in my life. Now I do enjoy fishing a little bit now, and we grew up on the creek. So we fished a lot, but I don't go fishing now as an adult. Although I enjoy it if I do. If I do, it's here on the creek. But hunting, no. I don't. Well, my husband doesn't enjoy deer meat, so he's a firm believer. If you're not going to eat it, you shouldn't kill it. So therefore, we don't kill it.
We have all been grounded as members of this family to appreciate this piece of property and the togetherness that, even though it's been rocky at times, as it is in every family, I think we all feel that strong sense of it will never go anywhere if we have anything to do with it.
At least as long as we're alive, and all we can do is try to instill the love of the land into our children as our father and our as he was talking about growing up with his grandfather, we grew up 100 yards away from our grandparents.
Like both his land and his legacy, if you can separate the two, are in good hands.
I think so.
Thank you all.
Well,
Thank you, Ralph.